Okay. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. Welcome to the King CJ Music Podcast. If I sound a little different, I just truly am going through like the motions of feeling sick for the past couple weeks, and so I didn't want to give you like half effort kind of a half effort. So hopefully next week I feel a little bit better, and when I do, I plan on bringing out a few more episodes than I am currently at this rate. But I reached burned out. I reached burned out like a while ago. That's why they say pace yourself. Anyway, today's episode, as I said, I've been a little sick. So today's episode will probably be like that 100 gigs Drake gig section of this episode because he's releasing so much music. Which I have questions, I have concerns. I think as he said, his next official album, I assume, is him with Party Next Door. And I assume you don't want to put like singles out because of people like Party Next Door single is a huge single. And I think that's partially what you don't want to do, is like drop something in between, because that is what happened with Drake and Kendrick. And so Party Next Door album sales probably were lower than they probably should have been. And so we're here talking about this. It's weird looking into this. Like originally Super Soak or COD and No Face were originally, if he puts these on streaming services, he does, and you'll hear me like cut in between it and like with an update. But COD was a little Yachty on it, but allegedly he didn't like what Lil Yachty said about the episode, where he doesn't feel like he should have got involved with the beef, and he shouldn't have said anything about the beef, about him and Kendrick's beef. And so it's interesting. Like Super Soak as a song, especially since people have been waiting on it, and it's been leaked out Lil Yachty on it. The same thing with No Face. I think No Face was a Cardi on it, but it didn't. Right, and some of them have them. Like you can hear them. Like if you download them from 100 Gigs website, it seems like you can have them. But technically, you really can't. Like you can download them, I think. And I'm not saying we don't do piracy over here. We don't promote piracy. But the 100 Gigs website is up. But you can also purchase these songs currently as I am speaking. As they are also on streaming services like Spotify. But to me, it's kind of interesting, right? Because, and I say this because, but housekeeping, and I don't know if this is Drake's I don't know if this is Drake's idea or the label that Drake has its distribution deal through. And I do apologize because a lot of this sounds like knowledge that I do not have, but it's knowledge I have because it's I believe it's under a license under Republic Records, which is under Universal Music Group, right? And so I don't know if Universal was like, hey, you just can't drop 100 gigs, and we know you did it. You just can't drop it, and we not make a dime off of it, which is kind of the assumption, but also I think Drake realizes that if you say your next album is P&D, with P&D, the next full album body of work you have to drop is P&D, right? And I think this is partially because I think, and if I'm getting into Drake's mindset, I think this partially, I'm going to talk about the 100 gigs in total, but I think this is his payback for him, like, really like snuffing the Party Next Door 4, like, release. Because that was like the mid of May, right? And that album was supposed to be big from the OVO camp, and it was. It didn't seem like it had that Drake push behind it because he was worried about Kendrick at the time. Now this 100 gigs, so I've been through a bit of these 100 gigs, and what I've seen through most of my reporting or most of my understanding of what's in 100 gigs of me watching these clips are just people talking, and you get like stages of like when he was doing his tours, right? When he was doing his Scorpion tour, the famous LaFerrari, the yellow LaFerrari that was like swinging, right? We also get like in-depth interviews where you see a lot of people are working with Drake, and we see them And I'm gonna assume it's Hit Boy. And if it's not Hit Boy, I would take like that chunk with an armor in it. I wasn't out of correction later this week. But it was like Hit Boy, where Hit Boy was talking about like a beat that they were gonna work together, which is weird. I think this is operate. It's more trying to show people that I love to collaborate with people. Noah, his producer, and Drake were talking about a beat that they thought would be perfect for Kendrick. And then I think everyone sees. I don't know if this beef is one-sided. I think the beef might have been one-sided, and I'm not entirely sure. But the conversation around this beef keeps escalating because people are saying this. But there's also like clips of it. Like he's like, I don't know if this beef is one-sided. I think this beef might have originally been one-sided because this beef has been on for 10 years, and there's been known shade for 10 years, which at a certain point has its break. So Cole, and then Cole had to get out. As I said, if you hear like a raspy voice, it's strictly because I feel like I'm sick. I'm dealing with something. But like it's a question of like necessarily why was it? Why did we have first beef? And if Kendrick, if what they're saying is that Kendrick didn't want to get off of Drake's neck, then is Drake signaling, if you want to go around too, we can go around? So I'm gonna apologize here because I think this is gonna peak, and it's strictly because I think this conversation of who's gonna start this beef again is particularly important for a lot of people because they said Drake couldn't do it and Drake tried to prove that he could. And I think this is his concept of, hey, anything I've written, I've done. You've heard me write it. You see me talking about it you see me like write it from my phone, which we've seen a lot of things. We've seen the things that he's done. Currently, we've seen this impact that like him and Ye at once did have a relationship, and Ye at 2013's OVO Festival says that the pressure that the creation of Drake did put impact and made Jay-Z and made Kanye create Watch the Thrones, which debatably is one of the best collab albums to ever be made currently to this day. Which is interesting when people say that Drake had no impact on the culture, which is interesting, which is an interesting perspective. If that is the case, then we wouldn't have Watched the Thrones, because coming out of Ye's mouth directly is the reason they got together and did Watch the Thrones. Which is interesting, because they didn't like each other on College Dropout. But as I said, this is interesting knowing how we got Big Brother and then we got Watch the Throne, right? These are interesting concepts of how we got these albums. But at the same time, I think it's 30 Hours that's playing in the background that Drake does. Or it's either Father Stretch My Hands, but I know it's from My Life with Pablo. But Drake's doing one of those songs in this booth, which shows he can write. But I guess at the same time, this is showing his credibility of, I am a rapper, I am an artist, I do what I say I do. And it's going to be hard to disprove me, which I think is a valid conversation to have, but it is a questionable one. At that same time, I do wonder, I just do, does Drake have enough proof to back it up? And I don't know if he does. But as I said, this is interesting. And then if you were to ask me, I wouldn't know. But I think there's 100 gigs is him trying to like carve a way to see how people feel about him releasing music, and seeing that a lot of people like No Face, he might drop more singles. Well, we will see. But if he's true about it, his next album is Part Next Door. We want it from a little bit, but he's trying to get that rapping spirit out, which I understand. Which will be interesting.